Next thing we're going to talk about is the valuation tool. I know a lot of you have gone through this before. The valuation tool is also on the COZA announcements. If you're not on COZA announcements, send Angela a rude message on WhatsApp and say, put me on the announcement group, please. So here it is here. And here where you click on it, you get diverted to a valuation form. And now this is for us. Okay, this is for us to look professional. Now I want you guys, the reason I'm bringing this up again is that not everybody is using it. And I don't know whether what the objection to it is. I think it's just laziness, to be absolutely fair. If you think your one's better than mine or worse than mine, it's actually not the point. The point is to have consistency in the brand and to have a professional looking valuation form. This doesn't stop you adding your own fluff to it and adding your own cover sheets and doing everything. But I believe that this is a good form. Now, the way the form works is it works in conjunction with this thing here. You might have seen it before. Yeah. It's called a CMA. So like everybody knows, the first thing you do with a valuation, so you go to the guy's house, you have a look around, you take some nice photographs, and you say, yes, do you want to sell? Will you list it with me? Yes. And if he doesn't do it straight away, it's okay, I'm going to get you a valuation. The beauty of this form is that you can get that guy that valuation within an hour because you can actually do it in your car. Okay, this is a leap ahead of any other agent. Okay, many other agents have to go back to the office and ask their admin for a CMA, take them a day. Then they have to digest the stuff. Then they have to type out some letter in their own words, and then the guy's going to get I beg your pardon. The guy's going to get a valuation from us who looks professional like this one, and they're going to get another one from Cully's Auto Emporium and House Sale Bazaar. That's like some handwritten valuation that's got no substance to it. It's important to have your presentation looking at least professional. It doesn't have to look good and fluffy anymore. And remember, the old days of presenting this presentation pack in paper is probably gone. I would abandon that immediately and get on board with the digital side. So find a way around it. Say to the guy, I'm emailing it to you. I'd like you to talk you through it. You can Zoom with him through it. You can find a way to get technological because you can't sit in front of everybody anymore. So here's the Lightstone report. Now the Lightstone report gives you all the information that you need.
Sorry, Anton, we're not seeing anything. Everybody's sending messages. We're just seeing your email screens, nothing else.
You only see my email. Well, that's disappointing. Let me just fix that. Now?
Nothing. Just you.
Well, that must be very disappointing. You can only see me.
Trust me, it is. There we go.
How about that? Okay, so when I clicked on that link, you know, I came to this valuation page. On that valuation page, can you now see this one?
Yeah.
You can see the Lightstone. Yes?
No.
Really? Okay, so it's
just a valuation form.
Okay. So what happens with that's quite amazing. So I want to do a new share then. It wants to share by document. So quite how about that?
Yeah, we can see Lightstone.
Okay, so this is the Lightstone report I was talking about. All the information you need is on here. The first bit gives you the details of the owners. We know all of that, the address, not the owner, I mean the address of the property, and the ID number of the property, which is the IRF number. And all of that stuff is required in that form. The next part of the form is the, actual owner's name. There it is there. You put that name in exactly as it is. So if it's Mrs. Smith and it's Mr. Smith written here, you address it to Mr. Smith. And the valuation is, dear Mr. Smith. Even though he's dead and you're dealing with her or Mrs. Smith for late estate, you don't just ignore, not if he's dead, but I mean, if he's not, doesn't matter. And all of this is the valuation data. Now, I'm not going to teach you how to do a valuation. I only want to show you where the data comes from in this instance. Now, if I delete that, can you see this one now? Yo, these guys make it hard. Okay, now we're back to the original one. Yes, you can see the valuation form now, I'm sure. Okay. Okay, so the date's the date, the agent's name, you put your name, and you'll see here that it wants to populate this thing. Your ones will do the same. So if I click here, look here, by magic, it fills it in. So you only ever have to do that once. And this is a very good example of how to do it wrong, though, because you can see that my number starts with a 180. That is incorrect. So I have filled in the form incorrectly in the past. Google remembers it. So when you self-populate here, you got to make sure that you get it right. So this is not right. So I don't want that. And I don't want that. And I don't want that. And I'm going to try again. And this one here, and look here, it says managers, manage it. You can go manage that setting. And you can see which one it is, and you can control it from Google here. And that's the one there. And if I go to that one, I don't know if you can see this, you can edit it and you can fix it and you can make it pretty. Okay, so let's just assume I was right. So you start typing your name and boom, it puts it in. And this time it's correct. Okay, client name. That client name is the same one that I showed you on the CMA. It's got to be the same one. So it's Mr. Smith. And it's not, sorry, not Mr., it's John Smith. John and Smith, whatever. Surname, bio one, whatever. The address, number 1 Hurlingham Gate, whatever. You can see it's auto-populating here. Be careful of auto-populating, because if you've had more than one property and you've typed it in, it'll remember it. Okay, the earth size, that's the square meterage. That you type in off the CMA. It says there, it's 2,000 square meters. You put it in. It's not the house size, it's the earth size. The building size, this is the building size. This is the actual size of the building on it. Now, you don't know that, but you do know it. Why do you know it? Who knows why you know it? Because there's a measurement tool to show you it. Now, we are going to run out of time probably, but it's fine. Let's just, I want you to see this. You can see this. Can you see the CMA? Right, now on the CMA, when you get it, you see that this second image here. If you click at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see a thing called measurement. It's got a little sort of like a ruler, and you click on it. You can then go to this and click on that corner, and you lead a line to this corner, to that corner, to that corner, to the back corner, to that corner, to this corner. And when you double click then, it comes up with a little pop-up of the square meterage of the building under roof. Okay, so that's a very easy way of getting the square meterage of the building size. Okay. For sectional title, it actually gives you the sectional title. That's square meters of the building. For full title, it's not. Eh? Of course not. Okay. So what is the size here? I measured it and it's 151. Now you can get clever here. If you want it to be big, include the paving and the pool, then it goes up to 650. If you don't want it to be big, and you want it to be small, exclude the paving, exclude the pool, exclude the driveway, and it's only 325. Okay, and you're not being dishonest, you're being honest. It just, the size of the house is a very, it depends on what metric you're using. Are you using built infrastructure or you're using actual house size? This doesn't define it. So if you want it to look big, include everything. If you don't want it to look big, don't include everything. The municipal valuation is exactly what it says on the CMA. It's got a whole thing there called municipal valuation and the date where it was valued. Now, if the date it was valued is 1913, then I don't know if you should use it, but most of them are modern, and in Joburg it is up to date. And just between you and I, the Joburg municipal valuations are actually quite accurate. Now, I suspect with COVID, there is a correction in the market and the valuations are going to maybe get out of kilter, but it's a very good guide. The comparative value, okay, that's on the CMA. You would have seen that. The comparative value, the estimate, and the estimates are exactly where they are on the CMA. You can all see the CMA now. Somebody nod? No? Yes, thank you. Okay, so you go to the top here. Where did I get the municipal valuation from? I went past the pretty pictures. I went past the location where it is. I went past what's been sold, and it says here, municipal valuation 792. And when was it valued? 2018. I use those figures. Comparative valuation is this thing here. It's an average of that whole thing. And that's the number I put there. Okay, now you've got to be clever. If you don't want a high valuation, if it's valuing for a seller, you want the valuation to be reasonable and maybe a little bit lower than what this can say. Because if you look in this valuation here, there's most of these places are 700. There's one for 1.1. That one there, I certainly don't want in my valuation. I don't want a 1.1. So I click on it, I go to the bottom and I delete it, and it comes out and the comparative amount will come down. If you're going to sell it to a seller, you can include that one because it's real, it's there, you're not lying, it's part of the environment, and you can include it and the valuation can be slightly higher. So you just manipulate.
Can you just show us that again, Anton? How do you delete one of the comparatives? Is it just a tick box? Sorry.
Yes, there's a tick box at the corner here that you can't see because this is a PDF, it's not live. But were it to be live, there would be a box, you click here, click, click, and what I do is I exclude the outliers, exclude the tops, the ones that are completely unreasonable, and complete the bottoms that got completely too low. And then you push calculate and it'll give you the comparative price again. And you can fiddle around with it until you find a price, not that you're happy with. Okay, please don't misunderstand me here. I'm not trying to mislead anybody. What you want to do is compare your property to the properties that are in this list. Now, if your property is 495 square meters, as is the one I'm showing you there, and the one that you've got is actually 240. 248 square meters is not the same as 500 square meters. So you could realistically exclude that one because it's too small. And by the same token, there's often one, yeah, I've had it before, where they've sold a whole piece of land. So in Parkhurst, all the properties are 495 square meters. So they're 500 square meters, except for one, which is 32,000 square meters. Now you can't add that in because it's 47 million rand. It just blows the whole thing. You understand? So what you've got to do here is you've got to try and compare apples for apples. So you take out the high ones or you take out the low ones. But if the high one's a real high one, if somebody's bought a block of house next to somebody else's house and they spent R1 million on it and it's worth $1 million more, then you can show the buyer that you can get that value. But you don't want to show the seller that because he hasn't added the value yet. If he's done the work, yes, but he hasn't. And so he's going to say, if you leave that one in, he's going to say, oh, my neighbor, yeah, it's $1 million more. Yeah, all he did was the kitchen and add a bedroom and a double garage and a loft. If I do that, I can also get it. So make it that price. Yeah, that's laughable. That's like saying if I lost 20 kilograms, I'd be good looking. Do it. And then we'll decide on the looks. Okay.
Anton, quick request. Going back to the measurement tool, at Chas Everett, we had a guy quantity surveyor that was brilliant at this. Michelle knows him, Jim. Is somebody an expert on this can show us how to do that really properly? I'm talking about bearing in mind overhangs, etc. To be precise, that would be a great tool to master. And if somebody could present a 20-minute training session on that, it would be great.
I'll show you. Lightstone does it for you, and it is very accurate. So I'll show you. Okay, so we've dealt with the averages. Okay, now when you look at this this property, you are going to have to start using your brains now and decide what is the value. And how do you decide the value? Remember, we're not talking about this exactly now. What we're trying to do is just look at the form. Okay, are we back to the form, everybody? Yes? Okay, so the comparative value, that we know what that is, that's going to be 795 in that example. Now, the agent's low value estimate and the agent's high value estimate is where you decide on the value. Now, this is how do you decide on the value? How many values are there for a house? Who knows? Put up your fingers. Alan says 10. How can he possibly be right? How can there be 10 values? I thought it was only Gary says 3. I can't see the rest of you. Okay, well, the answer is probably more than 10, to be fair to Alan. And the reason that there's lots of them is what? Because the first value is what? What the seller thinks. The second value is what the buyer thinks. The third value is what the bank's going to value it. Another one can be the insurance value, the replacement value, the builder's quote to build it, the estate agent's value, the auctioneer's value, the ex-wife who's getting half the money's value. And finally, the final signed document, the transfer cost, where it actually was paid. And then after all of that, there's another value, what SARS decides it's worth. Because if SARS looks at a house and says, I don't like the price that you paid, I'm going to charge you the transfer fees based on what I think it's worth, they'll do that. And they can do that, and they do it all the time. Okay. So there are lots of different values. So what do we use here? What do I use for this one? Quite simple. What I say is, okay, Mr. Seller, what do you want to sell this house for? R1,000,000. I go, what? Million? Where did you get that number from? Explain it to me. And he explains it to me and said, I'll give you a proper valuation. I'll go away. I'll never forget that number. If I like that number, I use it as my high value, 1 million. I don't even argue with him, because why? You can't argue with people these days. And my low estimate, I use the comparative market value. I use the municipal value. And between those two, I decide that I think, based on that list of places that have sold, that the average selling price is probably 900. I think he can get 900. So a million is not out of the ballpark. It's unlikely. 900 is probably the number. So I'm going to be conservative. So my low value is going to be 800. And I'm not scared here. I'm not scared to go low. Okay. And you want to go low. Okay. So my low value is 800. My high value is that. Okay. And that's what I'm going to present to the guy. So that's going to be a bandwidth. Now you want to make the bandwidth on the low side. You don't want to overpromise the guy here. Remember, the valuations are not things that you don't want to get. Okay, I'm lying to you here. There's two things about valuation. If you want to get a listing for the sake of having a listing and looking good, you don't do a valuation. You say to the owner, what do you want for this townhouse in Diepsloot that's got no roof, but it's coming? And he says 12 million rand. You say, lekker, I'll list it today. It's on 12 bar. Let's make it 13. I want a sole mandate. If I can get 14 for it, will you give me a sole mandate? Yes. Sign. Blacker, you got a deal. Okay, and you sign the mandate. What's that worth to you? 0. But you might want a listing for a reason, so you can tell the owner anything you like and you can get a listing. And if the owner says, I won't accept less than 3 million rand, I'm not negotiable, don't darken my doorway, say, okay, I'll list it. No problem. But if the owner wants a real valuation, and even in that case, I would send him, listen, I'm going to send you a real valuation anyway. I'm still listing it at 3 million, and I'm happy with your price, but I'm going to send you a real valuation anyway. So there's two things. This is a real valuation, what you actually think it's worth. And it's better for you to do a real one and not get a listing than have some nonsense valuation, because you know you're never, ever going to get the number, and you're going to answer on the phone. It's just a waste of time and money. Okay. And to be honest, you look bad, because why? Sellers out there look at the interwebs, and they look at the agents, and they look at Rob Pound in his area, and they go, yeah, Rob's got like 7 properties here for 12 million rand each. Now that's like an amazing amount, and they know it's not going to sell. And that's why when you go to Rob Pound's listings, you'll see that he hasn't got any for that price, because he's not stupid. He's not going to destroy his brand and his professional outlook because he wants to just get a listing. I don't think, Rob, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, the number of weeks on the market. Sorry, I always pick on Rob because he's on my screen. He's right here. Number of weeks selling time. We know that an average property takes 18 weeks to sell if it is priced correctly. So yeah, you can fiddle with the numbers. If it is priced incorrectly, then it's easy. Then you can make that, what? I don't know, 32 weeks. Sorry, where is it? It's gone. Yeah, number of weeks to sell. We know, and you can tell, I tell the guys, listen, it takes 18 weeks, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. It's like 3-4 months to sell a house that is correctly priced. If you incorrectly price a house, it'll go to a year. So you almost make this thing 24 months or 12 months. Why? Because you're using the fog principle, fear of God. You say to God, that's what the number, if you want that number, it's not going to sell. But in our examples, 12 weeks is the right number. Recent sale size, the recent sale size, you go back to that list. You know the list of lists. I'll show you the list of lists. And you look here and you can see what has sold. And the reason that you want to do this is we want to pin people's perceptions into reality, because buyers are emotional, but sellers are greedy, man. They see a number on this list because they've got this list, or they should have it because you're going to send it to them. And they're going to look down this list and they're going to see one. Yes, you wanted me to sell for 300, but this one's here sell for 1.15. I want that one. But then you can point out to him, but my friend, that thing sold in 2012 in the height of the boom. You can't compare it. Okay, so you go to the most recent sale here, and I look at it. Yes, 2020, 6th month. Okay, so that was recent. And for that property, they got 950, and it's the same size. And that's the one that you put into your list. Okay, so we've got the recent sale price. Now we take the recent sale price and we put it into the document. Okay, so we go to the document here. Let's have a look. So recent sale price, and on that document it was, let's say it was 950,000, 1, 2, 3, and we put in the recent sale date. And the date there was somewhere in August of 2020. Right, so now you've got these estimates that you've put in. You put in the comparative, you put in the municipal value, you put in your low estimate, you put in your high estimate, and you put in a recent sale price for a property that looks the same, that's the same size, that's very similar in all respects. And we put that into the document for this poor man to look at, and the recent sale date, and then the big one, the go-to-market selling price. Now, the go-to-market selling price, two ways. Either you listen to the guy and he says 3 million rand and you put 3 million rand in because that's what he wants and he's not arguing, or you put in what the reasonable one is. Now, in this scenario, if you were actually doing a proper valuation here and my high estimate is 1 million, you know, you could say maybe I'll go to the market at 1050, 1, 2, 3, 1.5 million rand. Okay, and I've also added here a go-to-market rental price because in today's market, if a guy can't sell, he has to rent. He's got to do something. Right, so we've got the go-to-market selling price. Now we got to go to the go-to-market rental price. It's good to put in the rental price because it gives the guy an option, either rent or sell. And if the sale is taking too long, at least you can make some money with the commission. Rule of thumb, 1% of the selling price or the value of the property will give you a nice rental figure. So if it's selling for 1 million, 10,000 rand. It's an estimate. Now, if you talk to your rental colleagues, they'll tell you nonsense. You'll never get 10 grand for it. You'll only get 8. And what I like to do is I take that value on 1 million rand, I say 10,000, and then I make it 8. So I take off a factor because you probably, you're going to pay less in a rental. Now, that was in the old days. Now, with the bank rates where they are, typically rentals are suddenly more expensive than the actual bond amount. So what I think what I'm trying to say to you is that just use 1% as a guideline, but talk to a rental expert, or if you understand your area. What I do is I simply just go to Property 24, I type in rental in that area, and I look up what the rentals are. 4-bedroom house in the same area, and if you look at 2 or 3 other agents who've got it at that level, I look at their values and I put in a slightly lower one. Why? Because I don't want to overpromise the guy on rentals either. So in this case, if it's going to sell for 900, I think the rent's probably going to be about 750 or 800. Let's, you're not sure, but let's put it in. Oh, that's too much. Can't put in 750,000. Try 7,500. And then the commission value. And this is 5.5%. And you put it in there. And that's your whole thing done. That's your valuation. Now, when you push that submit button, watch, bang. It thinks a bit. Thinks quite a while. And there was a problem with my submission, which is quite nice to see. So if you scroll down and you look, and it says there, purple block, you see, I have forgotten out something. So if it's not sending, you have forgotten out something. And what have I forgotten out? The recent sale size, and that property that is recently sold for size was 350 square meters. No, it wasn't. It was, 495 square meters because it's a comparatively sized property. And then I resubmit, and it says, boom, done. Download the PDF. So you click download PDF, and it thinks for a second. And when you open it, you get a beautiful valuation letter. And you can immediately save this and email that letter to the guy. Okay. And it tells him all the good stuff he needs to see here. Tells him your name, tells him your number, tells him the value, tells him why we think about the value like that. And then you send this on. And what you should do is always attach the CMA to this document. Okay, so that the backup data is there for him to look at. So easy. Right. Now, while we're on this, I want to show you this Lightstone, because I've got a question regarding, let me just find it. Here we go. I believe you can all see that. somebody asked me, how do you delete a property off the list if you want to exclude a higher property? So I'm going to show you quickly. So I'm just going to pick that same one that I've been using. And the way you do it is if you look at this list here, so we go past the property, remember the property is there. If we go past the area to this list here, and I look at Castle Avenue, Castle Hill, let's say I look down this list and I see this one here. Do you see it? For 1.2575 million. It's 600 square meters, and the property we're dealing with, let's say, is only 400 square meters. This is an outlier. Okay, it's bigger in size and it's sold for a lot more. So I don't want that in my list. I don't want that to be part of my comparison. So if I look down here at the market comparative sales price, it's 887,850. Now I'm going to go to that one that sold for 1.2, and I'm going to click here, delete. Do you see it in the corner? Delete. And I'm going to look down that list for more outliers. There's another one for 1.14. I don't want that one in there too. Also the wrong size, and it's too expensive. And if I then delete those ones with that button, you'll see that my comparative sale price has dropped to 13511. Okay, so that's how you delete them. And the reason you're deleting is to compare apples with apples and not have ridiculous outliers. The query that Gary asked earlier about the measurement tool and how to use it, I've done a small 20-minute show on that. So if you go to AntLogic and you look at up there, there's how to use the valuation tool in Milestone. Have a nice day. Go and sell some houses.